waits for you, Envoy. Go meet it.
Alright, welcome back to Games Secrets Master. Obsidian Entertainment created a fantasy RPG in the Pillars of Eternity universe, taking the gameplay from turn-based isometric to first- and third-person real-time action-adventure. First revealed in 2020, there is much anticipation, a dash of hype, and high expectations for this new RPG from Xbox Game Studios. So let's review Obsidian's Avowed. Avowed's fantasy universe comes ready-made from developer Obsidian's other Pillars of Eternity games. The lore is dense, the in-game text plentiful, and characters verbose. But thankfully the living lands is fascinating to look at, and the realm of Eora full of political tension and cool monsters. I remember precious few names or historical details, but I will remember several of my experiences in this game. The view from the rickety path hugging the walls of an underground cavern big enough for a mad priest to have built a gigantic automaton inside, and the skin-crawling secret I discovered in the basement of a companion's family home. The look is Annihilation meets Oblivion, with fungal and floral detail embroidering the structures and peoples you encounter, and an ever-present tension between the organic and the corruptive. Avowed's fantasy universe comes ready-made from developer Obsidian's other Pillars of Eternity games. The lore is dense, the in-game text plentiful, and characters verbose. But thankfully the living lands is fascinating to look at, and the realm of Eora full of political tension and cool monsters. I remember precious few names or historical details, but I will remember several of my experiences in this game. The view from the rickety path hugging the walls of an underground cavern big enough for a mad priest to have built a gigantic automaton inside, and the skin-crawling secret I discovered in the basement of a companion's family home. The look is Annihilation meets Oblivion, with fungal and floral detail embroidering the structures and peoples you encounter, and an ever-present tension between the organic and the corruptive. I expected a brisk, 20-hour adventure in the vein of Obsidian's sci-fi comedy The Outer Worlds, but this is not that. This game is immense. I took my time in the opening area of Dawnshore, having a fine old time probing into spiderweb caverns, combing through ornate, abandoned ruins, and climbing lighthouses looking for loot. Only after 15 hours in this pleasant coastal land did I meet one of the central antagonists, an impressively frightening warlord in intricate armor and a mask with smoldering eyes. I then found myself in a dense and rotting jungle swamp full of surprisingly cheerful necromancers, and it was even bigger than Dawnshore. When I arrived at a third new location after around 30 hours, I realized that I very much did not have the measure of this world at all. Unfortunately, Avowed would be better if it were 20 hours long. I always had fun striking out from town and getting lost, coming across interesting things to do exactly as you would in Skyrim or Fallout. But there are two sticky problems that suck the fun out of it over time. The first is common to a lot of open-world games. When you arrive in a new place, all the quests and fights are a little too hard. After a few hours questing, exploring, and upgrading your weapons and armor, it hits a brief sweet spot where everything feels challenging but conquerable. Then you empower yourself to such an extent everything gets too easy, and it starts to feel like a box-ticking exercise. This pattern repeated itself over my time with the game, eroding my patience. The second issue is that Avowed's combat just isn't as fun as it thinks it is, and there's so much of it. There are an impressive number of weapons and techniques available to you. Grimoires and wands for spells, giant two-handed axes, bows and pistols, maces and shields. No matter what you choose, though, it feels imprecise and tedious, and your chances of success are determined by invisible numbers rather than skill. Try to take on enemies above your level, and it will barely matter how well you dodge out of the path of a great sword or how cleverly you combine your magic effects to freeze and shatter undead skeletons. What matters is the quality of your gear, which must be continually and laboriously upgraded with a warehouse's worth of random materials that you find in every chest and lockbox. I got very sick of button smashing to fire magic projectiles or hack away at tree monsters with my sword, chipping away determinedly at their hit points. My companions never felt especially helpful in battles, either. All the variety and texture that can be found in the fiction here is lacking in the combat and the loot. There are unique swords and trinkets at the ends of the most interesting quests, but the fun of exploring is tempered by the realization that outside of the views and the characters, you'll rarely find anything that interesting. If you come across a powerful enemy, you may well be underpowered for the fight. If you find a tantalizing, glowing chest in a cavern, there's a strong chance it'll be full of pennies, chunks of iron, and a few pelts. so I hope you enjoy the game. My first 15 or so hours in the Living Lands felt rich with potential, but I got fed up with it long before the end. Please let me know your thoughts about the game and comment, and don't forget to like and subscribe the channel for more game reviews like this.